this. We know that at least three of these injuries are long-term, 6 to 8 month injuries. We're hopeful that some of these might clear up in the relatively near future. So that being said, I foresee a lot of challenges in the next few months in our ability to kind of enhance the level of policing that we were able to achieve here through much of 2025. And we're going to have to be very careful about training curriculum that we commit staff to, because there's two things a police department absolutely has to do in Burlington, and that is have dispatchers to answer 911 calls and have uniform officers to respond to calls. So again, this is a bit of a work in progress. I really appreciate the relationship that we have with the BPOA and be able to have supposal type conversations about ways that we're going to have to fill this schedule, but it's going to be a long December for a lot of our teammates.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, Commissioner Janoria.
Could you explain to me why on one of the Battery Park pages, the officer-initiated incidents are included versus the ones about City Hall Park?
So actually, the number of incidents in Battery Park, the numbers were so underwhelming without the officer activity that we made a conscious decision to include those. So when we have an officer in City Hall Park or even Battery Park and they're out on a documented foot patrol and then they encounter an ordinance violation, we try to control for that in areas where that is occurring a lot, and that's what we have in City Hall Park. And it's just a strategy that the data analyst and I have talked about a lot in order to make sure that really what we're illustrating is what the officers are doing and what the public are actually calling and complaining about. But the numbers overall in Battery Park are relatively small.
Okay. I think it could be confusing for other people when looking at it without understanding your logic of wanting to portray it in one way or another, that for one park where, and perhaps, citywide you have increased foot patrols, but I think that would be interesting to know the difference of if the intent is that these increased foot patrols or any sort of foot patrols, if it's in a vehicle or some kind of proactive community policing, is actually a deterrent, and to compare those things likewise.
We can certainly have more consistency across the products. I also didn't want to put forth a underwhelming graphic in terms of Battery Park, because we get a fair number of calls, or I'll say a fair amount of feedback from the neighborhood about what's going on in the park, and I don't want folks to be to think that we're not taking it seriously or not recognizing it for the challenge that it is.
Okay. And I just had one other question. Did you say that the Vermont State Police Academy is the entity that requires you to polygraph test your applicants?
It's actually the Vermont Criminal Justice Council.
Okay. Are you happy with that policy?
So I'm comfortable with the use of polygraphs. I know that that's always a question in terms of why do you have these certain steps in your process, and I do like to call out, what is council mandated. So the physical fitness test is council mandated. For this next class, and that's starting in February, there's a new written examination that had been tabled for a number of years, so that's a council requirement. And then a polygraph examination and background investigation are all requirements of sending someone to the Vermont Police Academy.
Okay. And there's no other route for someone who is applying to in the state of Vermont who is not already a police officer to become one. They must go to the academy.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Chief. Are there any other questions about the Chief's report? Okay, hearing none, we will then move on. And thank you very much for the report, Chief. I will, our next section is commission business. And right now we've got committee reports at the top. I should have, as I move the Chief's report up, I should have looked at this a little bit. If I could, if there's no objection, I'll just move DD 11 and DD 44 above our committee reports, just to give the the chief an opportunity to get out a little early if there are any questions on DD 11 or DD 44. So I'll move on to commission business. With DD 11, I did note that, I believe it was DD 11, no, it was DD 44. So with DD 11, is there any discussion with regard to DD 11? That is victim witness assistance.
I have another question, or maybe more of a comment. On the second page where you list entities, services, two that are listed, the Vermont Refugee Assistance. Maybe I'm just not familiar with that, or maybe it has another word in the name, or has changed names. And also the Pride Center of Vermont, which is currently not active. Maybe just before you publish it, you'd want to remove or change those or add in something else to cover those groups.
Excellent feedback. Happy to incorporate.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments on DD 11? Questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to adopt or approve, rather, DD 11?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Hearing none, DD 11 is approved. Moving on to DD 44, and I will note there has been a last-minute change on DD 44. Chief, I'll allow you to describe that if you would, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair Depper. So if we get to the scheduling section, it's highlighted in the updated policy in the agenda packet. And this was on advice of the city attorney that we just added language here in subsection C that reads, the administration of the police department reserves all rights with respect to schedule changes as outlined in the collective bargaining agreement between the city of Burlington and AFSCME. These employees are AFSCME employees.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions or comments with regard to DD 44? Yes.
I actually have a question that doesn't relate to the directive, but just a question that I don't know if anyone can answer. On the PDF that is available to the public, it stops at page 29 before you get to DD 44. And I'm just wondering, is there, and I don't know why it just goes to page 29 and that's in stops. I'm comfortable voting on it this evening. I'm just asking whether or not anyone feels that because the public technically has not really seen this, does anyone have a concern about voting on it this evening?
Well, I don't, and I was looking at that as well. Thank you for that flag, Commissioner Paul. I was looking at that as well, and it does appear that on Civic Clerk, while it is not on the agenda packet whole PDF,
Yes.
it is there for download on the list. So I would argue that the public does have an opportunity to look at that because they have access to it.
Yeah, I mean, if they know Civic Clerk, they do. I mean, as I say, I mean, I'm fine with it, but I just wanted to make sure people did understand that if you go to the PDF, and I'm assuming also the plain text, although I didn't look at that one, it just isn't there. That's all.
Okay, thank you. I didn't have an issue with it. Do any other commissioners maybe have an issue with it?
I don't have an issue.
Okay.
And maybe I'm just looking at it differently than you, but it all appears there. So, yeah, it all appears there for me. So maybe I looked at it sooner.
Oh, you have it on the PDF?
What PDF? Not the one that's on Civic Clerk?
The one that's on Civic Clerk where you go to download when it says agenda PDF, agenda packet PDF, it does not include that. That's
Oh,
all.
if you download the entire thing instead of piecemeal?
and you go all the way
I
to the
see,
end,
Yeah.
it stops. Yeah,
Yep.
it's all right. Thank you.
Okay. Hearing no objection, I will ask, do we have a motion to approve DD 44?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Hearing none, DD 44 is approved. All right. Thank you, Chief. Obviously, y'all are welcome to stay if you would like, but I realize the hour is getting late and y'all have had a long day. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Thank
Thanksgiving to
You
you.
as well.
Chair Depper,
Yes, Commissioner Cox.
Oh, I sort of wanted the chief to stay for a few more minutes if he would, because I think part of the discussion around us going out and visiting the MPA meetings and making presentations would involve, I think it would be useful to, on at least some topics, involve police officers or police engagement with us. And then, so in that sense, we could be helping the police department to spread the word. But so,
Sure.
I didn't realize you were going to have him leave.
Sure, yeah, no, I appreciate that, Commissioner Cox. Chief, would you mind continuing to grace us with your presence?
I'm here to serve.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, we'll try to get to you, well, we should be able to get to you directly. The first item of business we have, well, really the third at this point, is committee reports from all committees. The only committee I think we have currently, please correct me, Commissioners, if I'm wrong, I believe the only committee we have currently standing is the Complaints Committee. We did put together the most recent complaints and put those on SharePoint and shared with all commission members. I believe the committee consisting of myself, Commissioner Finneran, Commissioner Genorio, we have chatted a little bit. I believe we are talking about setting a time for the next Complaints Committee meeting in the early to mid-January range. I don't necessarily, if you don't want to, we can set it now, but I was thinking that just over the course of the next couple of weeks, we could come up with a date to warn, if that works for y'all.
I thought about it, and I don't know how difficult it would be to meet before January, but I do feel like in the past commission reports, you know, having that annual review is kind of important. So in a way, waiting until January, then it just would, you know, push that back. Is that
Concerned that it would push it back a year?
concerned that something that hasn't been done in a couple years, coming to the end of a year, would get pushed back more time instead of trying to maybe keep on top of it, obviously depending on the number of complaints that come in. But if we come into it with the intent of having an annual summary of the complaints, the responses and our responses to them, if we continue to respond to those in January, then it kind of gets hard to choose a deadline
Okay. What do you propose?
that we could meet in December.
In December?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I know is, you know, full of a lot of time, you know, difficult times for people. But that is what I would prefer, if possible.
Okay. I mean, I don't have a problem with, you know, seeing if we can't find a date in December. So, yeah, I mean, that's fine with me.
Okay, maybe I can just send out an email with some prospective dates, and we could choose some this week.
Sure.
Okay, great.
Works for me. Thank you. Commissioner Cox? We can't hear you, Commissioner Cox. You're muted.
I'm struggling with the way that you send the complaints, because they're not like complaint number 1, complaint number 2, complaint number 3, with all of the things that go with complaint number 1 together, complaint number 2 together. They're kind of interspersed, and it's really difficult to follow what's going on any particular complaint, like when the investigation is done, and if there's additional information that comes in, and what the command ultimately does on a particular complaint. And I was wondering if we could go back to the system that we had previously. And if you look at the SharePoint site in 2024, for example, it has like 2024 as a folder, and then subfolders is complaint 1, complaint 2, complaint 3. And then every time you receive information regarding a particular complaint, then you just plop it down into the relevant folder, and then that way we're able to see for a given complaint what the complaint was, what was done on it, what the outcome on it was, and it's all in one place instead of just being interspersed with all the materials from other complaints.
Mary, can you clarify that? So a complaint comes in, in an email format, typically it's forwarded. That goes into the folder. And then assuming we don't have anything that we want to really investigate on and it's closed simply like it was unfounded, then there's simply one other email in the folder that's the follow-up saying this was the resolution,
Right, so the.
unless there's a lot more going on and then the folder has a lot more contents.
Exactly. So the police department makes a determination of how they handle any given complaint. And then we have an opportunity to just concur with what they did or ask for more information or to disagree with their handling, with their ultimate handling of a complaint. And so that is very rare. But there has been occasion, there's been once or twice since I've been on the commission where we've wanted more information because we just didn't really understand what happened, or we'd like to see the body cam videos relating to a particular complaint. And so if they're organized neatly in some logical manner, then it's easier to like find the materials that pertain to a given complaint. And I just found, that what was sent in the PDF with everything just all in one document was really too difficult to follow. I started making copious notes as to what page different complaints were on, and I decided it just would be a lot easier if they just, everything to do with like complaint 1 was in the folder labeled complaint 1, and so on and so forth. So is it just that it seems too much of a hassle to like create the folders? Because I'd be happy to create the folders. Do you see what I'm saying? If that would help, I'm happy to do whatever I can to help that process along, but I would just like to be able to see everything to do with a particular complaint all together in one folder.
Okay, well, I appreciate that perspective. My approach on the PDFs is truly for ease because the way they come in through email, it's just not, it's very, as you know, it's very labor intensive to pull out each one, put them each in a folder. And, from my perspective, I'm not really sure the juice is worth the squeeze on that, mainly because PDFs are searchable. They're, linked by number. And, for just the ease of the commissioners on the committee to just kind of scan through them and see if they have any questions on any particular one, that's kind of my thought process on that. And I would, kind of defer to the other commissioners on the committee since, they are the ones that are, most closely working with those before we make potential recommendations to the broader commission. So Commissioner Janorio, Commissioner Finneran, do you all have a perspective on that?
I think that the process should be easily accessible and understandable for everyone on the commission because the committee members will rotate. So I definitely take Mary's point that if that's difficult for her, if she doesn't have an easily navigable PDF viewer, that would be a real nightmare. I'm also interested in the system of whether it's a folder or just a single printed email for each one that has the number in the yearly complaints folder. If in the past, and Mary, maybe you can say, that was each individual complaint that came in that the commission looked at, was there a formal vote? Do we all agree this is fine? Was it informal where, maybe one person asked for more information and then elevated it for a discussion? I'm wondering how we can mark in a folder. I don't think it's easy to do in a PDF in general, especially a continuous PDF with more than one complaint, to say that the commission had consensus about how this thing happened, whether we agreed or disagreed, et cetera.
Well, I guess that would be, what I hear is two different questions, and correct me if I'm wrong. One being, for organization of the information generally, and the other being, the role of the committee in filtering any of these complaints. And the process by which, if a commissioner that's not on the committee wants to flag something specifically for the committee, how to do that. Am I understanding that correct, those two bits of it correctly?
I think one of it is general record keeping for ease of access. And the other is general record keeping, where if I went to look at something in 2024, when I was not here, or say nobody on the commission was present then, I would like to see whether or not, like, is it just presumed that the commission concurred with the BPD's finding or not? Was there a lot of back and forth? I think that should be recorded, even if it's just, you know, a quick sentence or something like to the effect of what is in the BPD log, where they have a column and it says what it was resolved and maybe some notes. Because if we don't have that, I don't know how we could proactively in the future look back at complaints that have happened and our community response to them, and how we would attempt to motivate any sort of change.
Motivate any sort of change in a particular complaint or in the complaints process generally?
Neither of those. As our role as police commissioners independently reviewing citizen complaints to or about the police, if we notice consistent complaints over the course of a year, 2 years, and how they're being addressed, not being addressed, or how the commission is responding to that. And I don't know if we don't have a separate way to do that besides just the email that it's come in, the email that BPD has resolved it. We don't have any way to say what our response was, if any.
So, I mean, what I hear then is a kind of a way to track them in an organized, you know, data-focused fashion.
I mean, I think that BPD has a log, and maybe somebody else remembers if there was a log. I feel like in police commission meetings that I've watched in the past, people mention I've updated the log. If we do not have the same one that the BPD has, like if we don't have access to that on the share site, then I certainly feel that we should have our own, and I assume that that information is what was used in the past years to compile the BPD annual report. To say, here's the number of complaints that we looked at, here's our feelings about them, and all the other directives reviewed, et cetera. So I think, as you say, it might be a slog initially to print that out, especially if you are the only person receiving them. But I think it would be more of a slog at the end of the year to try to compile all of that, as opposed to having a log where it just gets put in when it's received.
Chief, does the police department keep like an organized log of these? Because I get these in as emails, like individual emails, and that makes it real hard to, you know, compile it without really taking hours to, you know, organize that information.
Yes, so Chief Labarge maintains a spreadsheet that is our log.
Can the commission get access to that spreadsheet? I mean, if it's a spreadsheet and it's on a SharePoint site, is that something that myself or one of the other commissioners can have, you know, at least viewing permissions on?
So we do have a challenge in terms of SharePoint. We're not there yet. So we're still over on Microsoft, our Office 2016. And there's a host of challenges there. But to get to your question, we would have to look at that spreadsheet to see what data columns are there that we're actually using to manage and direct personnel or personnel issues, which would be obviously exempt records from public inspection. But let me look at that with Chief Labarge, and perhaps we can have Shibe remove some columns and get you a foundational place to start in terms of the date, the nature, the things that are on the face of the complaint that come in via email.
Yeah, if we could get a de-identified version of that, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, we'll look at that.
Okay, thank you.
I would feel bad asking Brian to like have duplicative spreadsheets where he is entering that information all the time, but I wonder, and I don't know what kind of security process you have, if it would be possible to just have a spreadsheet with 2 sheets and one is locked and we can't view it, password protected, and the other only has some of the columns that we can see, and it's maybe like, you know, read only or something like that. But I think otherwise, then we're just going to duplicate it, right?
Right, but I mean, and that was kind of my question with regard to de-identifying the data. So if they, usually, at least my experience with those spreadsheets is like, they're getting better and better at being able to have functions that just de-identify fairly quickly. If you want to, get rid of one column or another, and then, then it's nothing but a copy paste or, something like that, that then we could potentially update on a regular schedule.
There definitely was a log that previous commissioners shared with me months ago. We have not used it since then. Outlook does not make it easy to find things in your inbox. It exists somewhere, and it has previous complaints logged. I will dedicate some time to trying to find it, but one does exist. That's not to say that we have to use that one. We could, make something better. But there is one that exists that people have used, and I will do my very best to find it.
And I'm happy to set up an auto forward on my emails for those types of emails to all the commissioners so that, you'll have access to each individual one.
If that would make it easier so that, because I'm sure you're also the main person, getting emails about many other things that then you have to think about who to forward to. But if you did that, then we could simply have a rolling responsibility for somebody who's on the complaints committee to be the one that updates the log. And then when we have a meeting, it would be clear that we all have access to it and just review that.
Sure, so if it's okay, then we'll just start. Chief, if you could look into that log. I did email DC LaBarge about that today, and then I'll set up the auto forward, and then as we look at a date for the next complaints committee, and we can put that on the agenda if that works for everybody, and then just kind of see where we go from there. Yes, Commissioner Cox.
So I have the link to the current SharePoint site with all the stuff on it, so I'd be happy to send that out in the morning. But it would be simple for me to set up folders and then to just like, as the emails come in, there aren't that many per month, right? There's like usually maybe like 8 per month. And you just, it takes like less than 1 minute to convert it to a PDF and plop it in the folder. So I'd be happy to help, maybe just like starting from now to like, let's try to use it and see if that helps at all, because the long PDF with all of the files combined just was not really working for me.
You're welcome to do that if you would like, certainly. Okay. All right, well, thank you. Well, we've got some ways forward on that, so I appreciate those thoughts and that discussion. I will say, let's see, I don't believe we have any standing committees right now. Am I correct in that? I believe I'm correct in that. Okay, so I did want to bring up, because it just kind of came across the email today, and I forwarded it to all of you. We did have a complaint with regard to a animal control issue. And I forwarded all of that complaint to all the commissioners. That being the case, and based on the city attorney's overview of the commission's role in that, I believe it is my role to set up an ad hoc committee for Animal Control Committee and appoint commissioners to be on that committee. Commissioner Finneran, I understand that you are interested in being on that committee?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so appointed. And would you be willing to serve as the chair of that committee?
Sure.
Okay, great. I have 3 other commissioners that I am looking at, so would anyone else be interested in being on that committee?
Sure.
Okay, Commissioner Janoria, so appointed. I believe for quorum requirements, I need one more. Commissioner Cox or Commissioner Paul, are y'all interested? If not, I will appoint myself. Hearing no one jumping up and down, looks like I am appointed to that committee as well. So very well, I guess Commissioner Tenorio and Finneran, well, actually Commissioner Finneran, you are the chair of that committee. So how would you like to proceed in that regard? With setting a meeting and doing all that stuff?
We should set a meeting. I was unprepared for this level of responsibility.
Fair enough. Sounds good to me. All right. Well, communicate and try to set a meeting at sometime in the near future. Thank you
No,
very much.
Chair
Yes,
Gifford,
Commissioner Cox,
I
go ahead.
believe that the police department may have information on a previous incident having to do with this particular dog, because the complainant said that the owner had gotten a citation from the police previously. So the police probably have some information, but I would go through Haley McClanahan to see if she can get whatever information we can get from the police department.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Cox. I did reach back out to Shibe today to see if we could get the log from that ticket, from the date articulated in the complaint. So, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Finneran?
Just another question. I noticed in Attorney McClanahan's email, she said that there's a new rule that says that the Animal Control Subcommittee should have a vet and an animal behavioral specialist. Are there like point people for that? Do we go and find them on our own?
That I do not know.
Okay.
I know that the Humane Society has both of those, and they often volunteer their time for things related to that, so they would be a good point to reach out to, and
Great.
I know several people there, if that would be helpful for me to reach out.
That would, yep.
Go ahead, Commissioner Paul.
I just wanted to state for the record that I could serve on this committee. I do have a dog that is small, and I do not want whatever the decision is of this committee to be impacted by the fact that I wouldn't be disclosing that. So it might be better if I just not serve. That's why.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll just make a quick couple of notes here.
And I would have volunteered, but I was already on two animal control hearings last year, so it's like, we'll let someone else enjoy for a while.
Sure, excellent. All right, so we've got a way forward on that. Perfect. I don't believe we have any other committee business, which moves us into Commission Community Meetings Planning Discussion, and I will turn it over to Commissioner Cox because she has been leading that quite capably. Thank you, Commissioner Cox, for your efforts. What's going on?
So do I need to ask, do we have the person, someone from the Town Meeting TV there in the audience, or?
We do.
Okay, so I definitely want them to join in, but I've done a couple things besides talk to them. So I put everything in an email today, and I'm hoping you read it. But just very briefly, the first persons that I spoke to were from Town Meeting TV, Jordan and Stephen, and they were super helpful, and they gave a list of venues around the city, one from each ward, where we could hold a meeting. And they know this because those locations have the proper equipment that they need. At their suggestion, I contacted Barbara Turnbull, who's the coordinator for the NPAs, and the NPAs generally meet at those same locations. And so we discussed the idea of somehow joining meetings or having meetings dovetail, like we have a meeting and then directly after they have a meeting, just so we can get to know each other. Barbara didn't seem to think that was advisable right at the beginning. She suggested that we begin with just like one or two members of the commission going to an MPA meeting, giving a presentation, and she said definitely with an officer. And then she did comment that Chief Burke had been giving some presentations to the NPAs and that those had gone very well. People were very receptive. And so I'm thinking that might be the way to do it. And I'm wondering if some way where we do one or two people, so like whoever the commissioner is, that's like the commissioner for that ward might go, plus another commissioner. So maybe have two people go to an MPA meeting, and then like a police officer to give some kind of anything from giving the chief's report to talking about like one of the topics that we've been talking about for the past couple of months, like, ICAD or, officer wellness or, officer personnel counts. There's like, I can think of like dozens of topics that people I think would be really interested in and receptive to. And I think it'd be a worthwhile effort. I think that the more that a community understands the police department, that you get more acceptance, and then with more acceptance, you get better support. So that's my goal.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. And I see that we have Steve Herron. Stephen Herron has joined us with
Hi, y'all.
Town Meeting TV. How are you, Mr. Herron?
Very good. Thank you for having us. Can you hear me all right?
We can, thank you.
Yep, I'm here to, I second everything that Mary just laid out. I'd like to, I'd recommend presenting at MPA meetings first, if that's a way that you're interested in engaging with the public. And then if there is a desire to hold meetings outside of the regular Contoy's auditorium meeting place, I'm happy to answer any questions about processes and to making that happen for y'all.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Herron. Commissioner Cox, did you have anything you wanted Mr. Herron to underline?
I think everything's spelled out in my email, and I think that he just said, really, which is the important part, is that they're very willing to go around and they just have certain mechanical requirements for connectivity and how they can, do what their thing is. And so they've identified those venues, and I think that we just need to have a willingness to go do it. And so that's sort of, we have logistics that are already like sort of in place. That's what I worked on, was what is the logistics of all of this and sort of where do we want to go? Now we just have to say, do we want to do this?
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioners, do y'all have any questions or comments for Commissioner Cox? Okay. Am I correct in understanding? Well, I guess I'll ask it this way. Does anybody have an objection to getting out into the NPAs and the wards?
I think it's a good idea, and I agree that having, asking specifically to be on the agenda and having prepared some short presentation is probably the way to do it, especially to start. I think it would be good for us to, Mary or whoever wants to work on a presentation, to get buy-in from everybody on the commission before we go out and do that. That's my only comment.
Okay.
So, Chair Deppert, could I speak to that?
Yeah, of course.
So I'd be happy to do that. And the one thing that I really wanted the chief there for, and I don't see DC Labarge's Zoom box anymore, but Chief, if maybe you could speak to him about it. He had mentioned to me a couple times that he wanted to make sure that we coordinated with them, because if we wanted, for example, a police officer to come and speak about some aspect of policing, they wanted that joint coordination between the commission and the police department. And so is DC Labarge the person for me to work with on that, or is there someone else that I should work directly with?
DC Labarge would be an excellent resource in that regard. And when we talk about coordination, we just need to be able to line one up from the schedule. So as much advance notice as possible, we'll get you a new face as opposed to getting you a stand-in, which would probably be me.
Okay, great. Well, they like you, so that would be great. I think that definitely I'll reach out to DC Labarge then, and we'll come up with something. I was hoping to actually get out there at least to one of the two NPAs that Barbara Turnbull had suggested. She suggested NPA for Ward 3 and the NPA for Ward 8 as being the two that we could begin with. And I was hoping to get out one in time for people to sign up for the police academy, because that's something we could mention as we do our presentation, and maybe show them something like the flyer or something, and talk about how great this thing is, and so that we could get some more audience participation from community members in the actual community academy. So I'll try.
Mary,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to work with you on some, presentation discussion points for that, and attend the Ward 3 with you or anyone else if desired.
That'd be great. So let me email you. I'll get you involved in the discussion with Chief Labarge, and maybe the three of us can talk via a little Zoom or something and figure it out, and figure out a good topic, what we want to say, what we want to present, and I think it'd be good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Finneran, did you? Oh, okay. And we're talking about Ward 3. It looks like Ward 3 meets on the first Wednesday of each month from 6:30 to 8:30. So I don't know if y'all are looking at December or January. I think if it were me, December would be pretty tight. So I would, proceed as you will. How would y'all like to? What I'm thinking through is, I think it's a great idea. It's fantastic. Let's do it. What I'm thinking through, though, is how do we organize this and announce it in such a way that, as a commission, we're letting the community know that this is where we're going to be next. And so, do y'all have thoughts about that? Yeah.
So, Chief Depper,
Go ahead.
Chair Depper, that's down the road a little ways. What we're talking about right now is just having one or two people go to the NPA meeting, and they already noticed their meeting in all of the places. So it's not the entire commission going. It's just one or two people going as sort of commission advocates, and introducing ourselves and getting just some of that community engagement going. There's a lot of people that I know that live in Ward 3, and so I'm real happy to engage on that. But one of my goals was to try to get people to the community academy. And when does that begin, Chief?
That's on track for February. The exact date is not on the top of my mind.
But
Okay,
I think
so
the sign-up ends soon, so maybe we should have a generic topic for the first one, because if we're not going to meet in December and the enrollment ends in January before we can meet, maybe we should have a different topic for the first one that we attend, or a generic topic that we could discuss at any NPA thereafter.
Yeah, I think it starts in January, and it's 6 weeks long.
Yeah, I think it's beginning of January, goes into the middle of February, something like that. So yeah, and I appreciate what you're saying, Commissioner Cox, and that it's just a couple of us, though I would continue to argue that, to the extent commissioners are going to an NPA as representatives of the commission, that there is value in letting the broader community know that we will be there, right? And, it might be people that don't go to NPAs all the time, but maybe they would be interested in the commissioners being there. And it might be something as simple as, maybe asking Shive, I think she has edit permissions on the website, to just put a notice on our drop page that, 2 commissioners will be at Ward 3 at the next meeting on this date. So something like that is kind of what I'm thinking through, because I would like to be as, transparent as possible with the community when we're going out to do things.
I don't know if we have
I'm sorry.
I don't know if we have any commissioners who live in Ward 3, or who live downtown, but you could post on Front Porch Forum.
Yeah, that's a good idea too.
Exactly. And I think the NPAs generally also post on Front Porch Forum. And so if they know they have a presentation, then we just ask them, oh, by the way, could you mention us in your Front Porch Forum posting? Then that would get some views also.
In addition to making sure we, get our item on the agenda. I think most people aren't regularly checking their NPA website, but they look at the agenda when it comes out to see if they want to go or if there's going to be any good food. So,
Sure, okay. Thank you very much. All right, well, very well. I'll reach out to Shibe and see if she can, put something on our webpage, if that's workable for her. And we can, if y'all are looking at Ward 3 next, is what I'm understanding. Is my understanding of that correct? Y'all are going to look at Ward 3 first?
Well, so Barbara recommended 3 and 8 as being two that were very actively interested in issues that had police as sort of a background to the issues that they talk about. And so 3 seems to be the one that's occurring first, time-wise, in terms of their next meeting. So why don't
Well, I think Ward 8 is the fourth Thursday of every month, so I think Ward 8 is going to have their next one on Thursday, theoretically, this coming, and then would be the next one, if they have it, would be right around Christmas time, so probably won't have that one if I had to guess.
Yeah, so we can reach out to them. We have contact information for them, and we can reach out and figure that out, so.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, I mean, if y'all would just, I guess, keep us all updated on the progress of that so we could make sure that Shibe is aware, that would be fantastic.
Ward 8 is not having an NPA meeting until January.
Okay, great. Thank you, Commissioner Fennery. All right, is there anything else on this particular topic from anybody? No, hearing none. Oh,
Could
sorry.
I ask if Stephen has any further thoughts?
No particular thoughts. I think giving presentations at the MPA seems to be of the best interest of the commission. Just to say on the technical level, to reiterate what Mary was referring to earlier in her written edition, if there's ever a need to hold a police commission meeting outside of Conto's auditorium, we do have systems for that. The location, we just generally ask that there's Ethernet, that we have a way of accessing a projector or a television to get the hybrid component out, and in the best possible world, some form of advance notice, at least 2 weeks in advance. But that doesn't seem to be the direction y'all want to go in, which I think is great, and I think it makes a ton of sense to get the community engagement through the MPAs. I do think that Ward 3 is a great one to start, in addition to the fact that they meet directly below your feet in Sharon Busher conference room. So they're already used to contoys, and I think that might be a good way to start. People, that's a group of the population that's used to traveling to contoys for those meetings in particular. And we cover the MPAs, and we live stream them, and we host them on our website and air them on our channels. So your engagement with the community can be broadcast and shown, and that's another form of marketing material if you choose to use it that way. You can show this is the type of thing that we'll be discussing at your MPA if folks have any questions for them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Herron. I appreciate your attendance tonight and your information. Does anybody else have anything on this topic? Okay, hearing none. Again, Commissioner Cox, thank you very much for your work on this. It's very helpful. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, and thank you to the chief for staying around for this conversation. There was just 2 little pieces of information that I thought I really needed the chief's nod on, so thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Chief. All right, moving on, we'll move to December meeting planning. Does anybody have any particular thoughts? I think our December meeting is currently the day before Christmas Eve for those who celebrate. Does anybody have any thoughts on whether or not we should have it, whether or not we should move it, whether or not we should just call it and, skip it into January?
I don't have any plans to go anywhere, so I'd be happy to attend. But obviously understandable if other folks are out of town or celebrating with their families, and we won't have a quorum.
My preference would be to move it.
Okay. I tend to concur with Commissioner Fenner, and I would kind of like to move that. It's a complicated kind of time for me. But let's see, if Commissioner Paul, Commissioner Cox, and Commissioner Comerford are there, we would have a quorum. So I defer to y'all. What is your, do y'all have preferences? Should we just make a motion to move it and just vote? How would y'all like to do that?
By move, do you mean skip it, or do you mean choose another time that's not so close to Christmas?
I am thinking skip it.
You're thinking what?
Skip it.
Okay, I would prefer not to skip it.
Okay.
I think that if we're all here, that we should be able to find another date, perhaps on the 16th that works. We only meet once a month and have already, in 2025, I think to my knowledge, I think there have already been 2 months that have been missed for one reason or another. This would be 3 out of 12. I think that's a large number.
Okay. So do you want to move to have it on the 16th?
Yeah, I would be in favor of moving it because I think there are people for very legitimate reasons who cannot be here. So my suggestion would be to move it to this. I mean, I don't know. I guess my suggestion would be if Tuesdays tend to work well for everyone, and we already know that, we're used to a Tuesday meeting, that moving it to the 16th would be my suggestion.
Okay.
If that's amenable as well to the department. Sorry, didn't mean to
The
interrupt
social
myself.
calendar looks pretty open.
Okay. Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll just accept that as a motion to move our December 23rd meeting to December 16th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, none. So we will move that meeting to the 16th. Make a note here. All right. Now, moving on to the last item and potentially the longest item on our business, discussion of our retreat themes and next steps. And Commissioner Paul, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you very much for putting that into a handy-dandy spreadsheet. I really appreciate that. It makes it much easier to engage with the information. But I'll turn it over to you to start us off.
Okay, thank you. So first, for the benefit of the public, the Police Commission met on November 4th. I think we had a really good opportunity to get together, and it was I think, a successful retreat. Wanted to thank all who attended, as well as not only the commissioners, but also the BPT leadership team, which included Executive Manager Tremmel, the 2 Deputy Chiefs, Labarge and Young, as well as Chief Burke. And we did have a facilitator, Cassie Gillespie, who works at the university in the Office of Social Work, and I thought she was excellent and really kept us on task. And all in all, it was I hope what everybody feels was a good use of a couple hours of time. What I had done, which you had already referred to, is that we got a list of all of the points that were covered at the retreat from Cassie, and it was in a bullet point kind of format. And when I started putting them all into a spreadsheet, it sort of morphed into what could be loosely referred to as a work plan. There were a couple of items that really relate to more like a guiding principles or mission statement, and then there were others that were goals that would have to be, carried through until they're completed. In the interest of time, I did send that spreadsheet to everyone. I also have forwarded it to Shibe, so she has it, and if you want to discuss it, she has it, so can use share screen, so it can come up, and not only for our benefit, also for the public's. And unfortunately, Chief, I forgot to send it to you, so this will be new information. What I was hoping was that everyone had a chance to look at it in advance of tonight's meeting. I know it's very, very small. My apologies for that. I did not summarize any of the points. I literally took them exactly as they were on Cassie's communication to us. So there's no editing involved. And what it all boils down to is, if the discussion, or if it's the will of the commission, and you're receptive to what we discussed at the retreat, recognizing also that you were not there, and this is new information to you as well, it boils down to about 4 items that, at least in my way of looking at this and putting it into a spreadsheet, would really require additional work that doesn't need to be done at a commission level. It could be done by a few of us, and then we could report back. And some of them are more easy than others. Some of them probably would take all of one meeting in order to sort of get it moving. But I'm just interested in, what everybody's feedback is. Does this work for you? Does it not work for you? Is there another way to do this? Are there some things that really were mentioned at the retreat but aren't necessarily important? This was literally as I say, just taking everything that was on Cassie's sheet and putting it onto a spreadsheet. So anyway, I'll stop there.
Any discussion, commentary from other commissioners, thoughts? So go ahead, Commissioner Cox.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you so much for doing this. You really, I think, captured everything really nicely. And it's given me a lot of food for thought, actually, to see it all written down in one document like this. And I was wondering if maybe we could make this, each of us look at it, think about it, think what things that we can do towards achieving, goals and priorities, and then maybe we could send around a couple emails between now and our December meeting, and then settle on some things in the December meeting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the other thing also is that as long as it's not a violation of the open meeting law, we can convert this to a Google Doc. And that way, anybody can play with it as they wish, and, it belongs to all of us. So whatever people think makes the most sense, or in terms of, like, for example, the other goals for the coming year, I numbered them only so that they would be numbered, but there's no order to it. The order is what Cassie gave us. It's literally in that order. So we may decide that, for example, bylaws is more important than clarity or charge over on the charter. If that goes up to number 1, then it becomes number 1. I just numbered them so that we would have a numbering system.
Well, I certainly don't have a problem with it being a Google Doc. I mean, if somebody has an objection or if city attorney doesn't like it later on, that's fine. But at least for our, ease of just kind of commentary, I think that makes sense. We're not making any binding decisions on the Google Doc, so and it would be theoretically accessible to anyone who asked. So I don't see a problem with it. I appreciate that thought. I do think it's an interesting idea to just have maybe one ad hoc committee, and that might be something to discuss in our December meeting, to have one ad hoc committee to kind of winnow down and kind of decide on actual priorities, because this is quite a bit. And I would comment that this is just something that kind of occurred to me, in looking at, the goals and commission operation, and, certainly y'all may disagree, but it strikes me as there does seem to be some tension that came out of this just conceptually between, getting a more, not streamlined, but a more clarity on process on one side, and a feeling of that we need to have less formality on the other side. And, I view that as those conceptually being a little bit in tension, simply because, process tends to be, and at least in my experience, more formal, but does tend to, negatively impact, or can negatively impact a more, kind of freewheeling process. So I would just put that out there as a comment, maybe something to think about for, our next meeting. But yeah, no, I really appreciate all this work, Commissioner Paul, and thank you for putting that retreat together. Did anybody have any other comments or anything you wanted to bring up about this?
I just have a brief comment based
Sure.
on what you said, because I see the tension resulting from them not being so opposing, that when there's really clear guidance about what everybody's role is and what everybody can do, then you can be more free within your role, and that's clear. And when it's unclear what everybody's role is and how to achieve things, then it tends to be more like strict and formulaic and seem like less is actually being achieved. That's my opinion, point of view, where I was coming from reading that same information. So thank you for bringing it up with your different point of view.
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
it's interesting how you got to that conclusion. Same information, just different way of thinking about it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that comment, for sure. Well, great. Well, definitely, certainly things to think about. Anybody else?
I would just say, so what I take from this is that I will convert this into a Google Doc and let you know that it's there. You'll just have to give me, I don't know if I can use city emails, so I think I may have to start asking for everybody's, I don't know. I may start having to ask for everybody's Gmail account.
So-
I'm sorry, what?
So this is a perfect kind of a document that could be put on our SharePoint site.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, like, if we have that functionality on SharePoint, we can just create
Okay.
that as a shared Excel.
Okay, all right, yeah, if we can do that, sure. So I will do that. I will take that on, and in the hopes that this might be this could be an agenda item going into this meeting on the 16th. Does it seem reasonable that between now and the 16th of December, everybody could take a look and start offering whatever input they would? Yes. I see people shaking
Yeah, I
their
believe
heads,
that.
and I can't see Commissioner Cox to see if she's shaking her head, but I'm going to trust she is.
It certainly
Yes.
sounds reasonable to me, for sure.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Chair Deborah, there was also just a couple of thoughts that I had, that there were two things that we could do without waiting until the December meeting. And one is to coordinate with Shibe for a ride-along. So I really think it's important for each commissioner, and maybe other people don't agree, but I think it's important, including myself, even though I've been on ride-alongs other places, I've never been here. And so for each of us to go on a ride-along and then also sign up for the Community Academy.
Okay, thank you for that comment. I mean, certainly, I would certainly encourage all the commissioners to send in their application to the Community Academy. I certainly sent in mine the other day. I haven't asked for a ride-along yet, but I intend to in the relatively near future. So I encourage my fellows to do the same. So thank you, Commissioner Cox. I stopped short of, I mean, it's a volunteer commission, so, I don't really think we can say you must, but, I encourage everybody to engage, certainly. Is there anything else, Commissioner Cox?
No, I'm all done. I think we could move to adjourn.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. All right, and so I will, because it is on our list of business. If there's nothing else on the discussion of retreat themes or next steps, okay, great, thank you. So our next meeting date, just for clarity, is going to be December 16th, 2025, here in Contois Auditorium at 6 p.m. And otherwise, that concludes our business. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Commissioner Cox, did you just move to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Okay, all right. I will second that. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Aye. Those
Aye.
opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.